What film made you say, holy shit, there is still an hour left? Australia. I thought it was a pretty decent western, and the scene of the cattle running up the ramp onto the boat was a nice ending note. Then World War II started. Came here to say Australia. The movie fully ended, not the first act, the movie, and then started a second one and thought we wouldn't notice. There's no need for that. As I remember, that's how The Sound of Music went, too. Glad I'm not the only one who thought that. Don't get me wrong, it's a good movie, but it kinda felt like they went fuck it, just tack the sequel onto the current one. Just watched this movie with my wife the other day and she was so surprised that after they deliver the cattle to the military that there's another hour and 20 minutes of movie left. Definitely a more classic 3-act story. I worked with a guy who said this was his favorite movie and admitted that the first few times he saw it he always turned it off after the cattle scene because he legitimately thought the movie was over. Blew his mind when he learned there was a whole other plot line. Who the hell turns a movie off before they even see the credits start? I'm now imagining someone turning movies off super early. Well, I guess Darth Vader was his dad. They never made it off Omaha Beach, I guess. Weird that it's the end of the movie when the power goes out with the dinosaurs. Indiana Jones got Hitler's autograph. Well, looks like Joker did steal from the mob. Turns off TV. Looks like Bruce Willis really did help the kids stop being scared of the dead people. I guess now he and his wife can work out their marital problems and live a normal life together. Pearl Harbor. I was waiting for the end credits and suddenly realized there was 1.5 hours left of the movie. My favorite review of this movie said they packed a 2-hour movie into 3 hours. I like Roger Ebert's take. A story about the Japanese secretly attacking an American love triangle. I was 9 when it came out and was fucking hyped for a movie about Pearl Harbor. Loved everything World War II. I fucking hated that movie. If you ever play Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, you can get revenge on Affleck by doing a kickflip over him. That game was a big part of my childhood. A game that really tries to combine extreme sports with domestic terrorism. I was watching Justice League for the second time a couple months ago, and there were quite a few scenes that I didn't remember, but I'd only seen it once, and about halfway through it I started thinking I'd been sitting here a long time. I then realized I was watching the Zack Snyder version that was 4 hours long. Yes, because we needed Icelandic chanting as Jason Momoa walks into the sea. That was the point where I said, okay, so that's why it's 4 hours long. Still sat through the next 3:30. The Snyder cut would be immeasurably better if they cut out 90% of the slow-mo and literally all of the Wonder Woman themed chanting except for when she first showed up on screen. Cutting to her with the dramatic-ass music and pause for effect cringe every single scene just felt like I was watching a parody. At the end of the first Hobbit movie they got to where they could see the Lonely Mountain and my friend turns to me and said, "How long is this movie?" He did not know it was a trilogy. So yeah, only 5 to 6 hours left at that point. This is the one that got me. The book is only 300-something pages. How did we turn it into a trilogy? I heard a commentary after the first one came out, I think it was Patton Oswalt, or a Patton Oswalt type, basically saying you just know that in the chapter where they escape from the elves in barrels, we're going to get an overextended set piece with rapids and waterfalls and dwarves going woof for 20 minutes. And of course he was totally correct. Edit, it was Red Letter Media. There are a lot of scenes and parts in that movie that were completely overextended. I could understand wanting to make it a two-parter as it can be something of a lengthy and complex story, but for fuck's sake. The third movie, The Battle of the Five Armies in the book, is about a paragraph long. They made that paragraph in the chapter after it in entire fucking movies. I'll be honest with you all, I didn't watch the third movie because I knew it was gonna just be a roller coaster. Everything in the movies builds up to the fight with Smaug, and then that fight becomes a footnote at the start of the third movie because you know, obviously, they kill the dragon so they can get to the Battle of the Five Armies. Edit, I may have seen the third film and just don't remember it at all. Someone mentioned Radagast's rabbit sled and I remember that. It was a paragraph long because in the books Bilbo got knocked out while wearing the ring right at the start of the battle. Can you imagine if that was how the movie was? Oh hey Bilbo, I'm so glad you're alive. Anyway, Thorin, Philly, and Keely are all dead, time to go home. He wasn't knocked out at the start of the battle. He witnessed a good bit of it and was knocked out after seeing the Eagles arrive. Any film I watched past 9 p.m. since I turned 40. 25 over here. As an in a good way example where there's a major tone shift and it feels like a completely new movie, Barbarian. I haven't seen a lot of other movies that do that and thought it was a really cool structure. That fucking cut to Justin Long. It was like 2 whole movies, man. I loved it. The scene with Justin Long using the measuring tape all the way to the underground lair was hilarious and such a great use of tonal shift. King Kong, Peter Jackson version. We're 2 hours in and I look at my buddy and say we're still on the island. In early 06 I took a date to see it and we intentionally showed up an hour late. Box office was like I had started an hour ago, to which we replied, oh we know. Got to theater just as boat was getting to the island. Much conning ensues very early this way. Jurassic World Dominion felt like it was 6 hours long to me. The whole Jurassic World saga is 3 movies too long. Movie felt like it was generated by AI. Things happened and I just didn't care because none of the story or acting gave me a reason to care. Parasite, in a good way. The tone shift about halfway through the movie, I was entranced. Yes! It really took a turn. This was Cabin in the Woods for me. I was so excited after the first half to realize there was a second that was fucking crazy. My son's movie was Madagascar. He was 4, it was his first movie. The song I Like to Move It was played very early in the movie. After dancing in the aisle, he was done. He said, "Okay, I'm ready to go bowling now." Pinball in Tay lobby. He didn't understand nor want to stay for the rest of the movie. Edit, it wasn't pinball he was wanting to play in the lobby, it was air hockey. The bowling alley me and his mom used to go to eat at, small town, really good food. Had an air hockey machine beside our regular table and he used to stand in a chair and play while we waited on our food. That is the best response of a 4-year-old ever. I agree with him. Once you move it, you can never go back. Wonder Woman 1984. Such a shame cause I like the first movie. I scrolled way too long to finally see this. The fact I had to pause and ask myself whether I wanted to finish it, regrettably I did. My husband fell asleep less than halfway through, and I just sat there scrolling through my phone, just letting it play because I was not going to stop it and sit through it again later. I'm still mad that I couldn't fall asleep and be spared from that trash, lol. Into the Woods. I love musicals, but that movie dragged on so much. This is kind of embarrassing, but I saw Titanic in the theater and I got so caught up in the love story that when they hit the iceberg, I had to remind myself, oh, yeah, this is the Titanic. Back when that Pearl Harbor movie came out I was having a conversation about it with a group of classmates. Some had already seen it and some hadn't. Someone mentioned something about Japan bombing Pearl Harbor and this one dude who hadn't seen it yet got really salty and stormed off in a huff after complaining about spoilers. That's also a movie that's really long where the likely climax isn't the climax. I didn't hate or even really dislike the film, but the third Pirates of the Caribbean seemed to take longer than some of the extended Lord of the Rings editions. I recently watched the trilogy again. I actively ignore the other 2, and really enjoyed it. I love that it's long because being in the world is so exciting and fun. They really excelled in making those movies. The costumes, acting, effects, cinematography etc. were on point. I absolutely love the third Pirates film. The plot is insanely convoluted, everybody double-crossing everybody, I love it. Still the most epic feeling film I've seen. I took a bunch of edibles and watched Cats. Whatever semblance of a story exists in this monstrosity seemed to my high ass to wrap up then. I looked to see we hadn't even reached the halfway point. I thought I accidentally stopped time. Also I was convinced I could see cat but holes on the background characters that they forgot to CGI out in post. Cats on edibles would probably be the most nightmarish experience in history. Just give me the weapon of choice music video with Christopher Walken on loop for 2 hours. Whatever the newest Jurassic World movie is called, the one with the OG crew in it. Regretted it in the first 20 minutes but ended up sitting through it. Woof, it was so bad. Pure cash grab, nothing more. The dialogue was atrocious and the story was trash. The villain was also really generic and boring. I hated every second of it, it was so lazily done it felt like a kid's movie. Ruined the franchise for me completely. Eternals film felt like it went on all afternoon. That movie still boggles me, if for nothing else than the scene where the 2 blokes are talking shit behind the deaf superhero. She reacts and they're startled, then the explanation is that she can understand what they're saying due to vibrations in the air. That's fucking hearing, morons. I never even thought of it this way lol. She literally is hearing, that's how sound works. Thank you for watching. In the comments below the video, write which movie you could barely stand.